She was utterly invisible, or so she thought. Soaked to the bone, shivering uncontrollably in the miserable shelter of a broken bus stop, Mia clutched the only warmth she had left, a tiny, whimpering puppy hidden inside her jacket. Rain lashed down, turning the world into a gray, roaring blur. She had nothing. No home, barely any money, just a backpack filled with damp essentials and fading dreams. But in that moment of near despair, under the cold, indifferent gaze of the storm, someone did see her. A man whose world was orbits away from hers. A billionaire stalled in his tracks, was about to make an offer so unbelievable it would rewrite her entire existence. This is a story of how a simple act of kindness towards a helpless animal ignited a connection that defied all odds. The rain wasn't just falling. It was a physical assault. Water hammered the pavement, overflowed gutters, and streamed down the cracked plexiglass of the bus stop. Mia pressed herself against the grimy back wall, trying to shrink away from the wind that whipped icy droplets into the inadequate shelter. Her thin jacket was useless against the deluge, clinging cold and heavy to her skin. Inside, Pip, the little terrier mix she'd rescued just a week prior, trembled violently. He was her only family now, her tiny anchor in a sea of uncertainty. Her backpack, containing her entire life, a change of clothes, her precious sketchbook, the last few dollars she possessed, sat heavy and soaked beside her. She murmured soft reassurances to Pip, words she wasn't sure she believed herself. "It's okay, little guy. We'll be okay." Just 22, Mia was navigating the precarious path of life after aging out of the foster care system. It had been a childhood of constant change, of learning not to put down roots, of mastering the art of quiet self-reliance. Kindness often came with conditions. Stability was fleeting. She carried these lessons like invisible armor. For a brief, hopeful period, she'd found a semblance of normalcy. A small rented room, a waitressing job at a neighborhood cafe owned by Martha, a woman whose gentle smile felt almost like home. But then Martha retired, the cafe closed, and Mia's fragile world collapsed. The job gone, savings evaporated. The room became an impossible luxury. Her world shrank to what she could carry on her back. Days blurred into a relentless search for work, handing out resumes that disappeared into voids, for a safe corner to rest, for a sign that things might get better. Polite inquiries were met with dismissive shakes of heads, averted eyes. "We're not hiring." "Nothing today." The rejection stung, but finding Pip shivering in that ditch had given her renewed focus. Caring for him, protecting him, gave her a reason to push past exhaustion, the gnawing fear. He was a tiny heartbeat against her own, a responsibility that felt more like a lifeline. Her escape remained the sketchbook. Within its worn pages, she captured the city's soul, the stark geometry of buildings against a stormy sky, the fleeting expressions of strangers caught in a moment of vulnerability, the joyful energy of dogs playing in the park. Animals came alive under her pencil, their spirits captured with empathy born of her own longing for connection. She dreamed of being an illustrator, a secret, fragile ambition she guarded fiercely. Years of disappointment had taught her caution. Unsolicited attention felt risky, kindness often suspect. So she kept her head down, her interactions brief, her heart closely guarded. This afternoon's fruitless job search had led her far across town. The sky had turned from sullen gray to furious black with terrifying speed. The downpour ambushed her, miles from the temporary night shelter that wasn't even guaranteed to have a bed. Panic, cold and sharp, began to rise in her throat as the streets emptied. Then she saw it, the dilapidated bus stop, a tiny island of dubious refuge. She scrambled inside, sinking onto the damp bench, pulling Pip out to check on him. His tiny body shuddered violently. "Okay, Pip, okay," she whispered, trying to rub some warmth into him. shielding him with her own chill frame. We just need to wait it out. It was then, amidst the roar of the storm and her own quiet desperation, that the sleek, dark sedan appeared. It glided silently through the rain before sputtering, coughing, and dying with an abrupt finality just beyond the bus stop. The driver's door opened, and a man emerged. Tall, impeccably dressed in a suit now rapidly darkening with rain, silvered hair plastered to his temples. He looked to be in his late 50s, his face etched with sharp annoyance. He pulled out a phone, glanced at it with visible frustration. No signal, likely, and his gaze swept the desolate surroundings. Impatience radiated from him like a force field. His eyes scanned the street, the downpour, and then they found her, huddled in the shadows. Mia flinched instinctively, pulling Pip tighter, trying to make herself smaller, less visible. Wealthy strangers, unexpected attention. These things rarely led anywhere good in her experience. They usually meant trouble she couldn't handle, questions she couldn't answer. Alistair Finch clenched his jaw. Utterly unacceptable. First, his driver delayed by flooding, forcing him to navigate these unfamiliar, rain-choked streets himself. Now the car, his meticulously maintained, top-of-the-line sedan, dead, kaput, and he was going to be unforgivably late for the quarterly earnings call. Millions were on the line. He stabbed uselessly at his phone again. Nothing. He scanned the grim streetscape, his frustration mounting. Then he saw her, a lone figure crammed into the derelict bus stop, looking as battered by life as the shelter itself. Just another unfortunate soul caught in the storm, he thought dismissively, about to turn back to the car. But then he noticed a movement, the slight shift as she leaned down, the tender way her hand moved, stroking something hidden within her jacket. He saw her murmur words he couldn't hear, her posture radiating a fierce, quiet protectiveness. His gaze sharpened. He could just make out the shape, a young woman drenched and pale, shielding a small, wet puppy from the elements. She used her own sleeve to gently wipe the rain from its face. There was something in that small, selfless gesture, something fundamentally decent that cut through his irritation, his pressing schedule, his world of calculated risks and strategic alliances. It resonated in a place deep inside him he rarely accessed during the workday. He hesitated. This was irregular. He didn't do spontaneous interactions with strangers on rain-swept streets. His life was curated, managed, buffered. But the image of the girl, so obviously struggling, yet so focused on comforting that tiny animal, it felt wrong to just ignore it. The bus stop offered pathetic protection. His car, though currently inanimate, was a sanctuary of warmth and dryness. With a sigh that ruffled his composure, Alistair made a decision. Straightening his shoulders, he stepped out into the full force of the downpour and began walking toward the bus stop, his expensive shoes making soft splashing sounds in the forming puddles. As he approached, Mia looked up, her eyes widening with unmistakable alarm. She hugged the puppy tighter, her body language screaming wariness. He stopped a respectful few feet away, not wanting to intimidate her further. He cleared his throat, pitching his voice to be heard over the rain, keeping it calm, neutral. "Excuse me," he began. "This storm is really picking up." He gestured vaguely at the deluge. "My car seems to have given up the ghost, but the inside is warm. You and your dog," he added, nodding toward the bundle in her arms. "You should wait in there, at least until this eases up, or I can get some assistance." Mia just stared at him, her expression a tight mass of suspicion. Her eyes darted from his face to the luxurious car, then back again, searching for the angle, the catch. "We're okay," she murmured, her voice barely a thread of sound against the storm's roar. He saw the distrust etched clearly on her face, the reflexive defense of someone who had learned not to expect kindness without a price. He softened his tone, his gaze dropping deliberately to the puppy, which let out a pitiful, shivery whine at that exact moment. "Please," he urged gently. "It's no trouble at all. Truly, the little one looks absolutely frozen. He needs to get out of this wind." A long, tense moment stretched between them, filled only by the drumming rain. Mia looked down at Pip, whose trembling seemed to intensify. Then she looked back at Alistair's face, searching his eyes. He held her gaze, keeping his expression open, patient, trying to convey simple, unadorned concern. He wasn't sure why proving his sincerity felt so important, but it did. Finally, agonizingly slowly, she gave a tiny, almost imperceptible nod. Her fear was still a tangible presence, warring visibly with her desperate concern for Pip. "Okay," she whispered, the word barely audible. "Just until the rain lets up a bit." "Good. Come on then," Alistair replied with a brief, reassuring nod. He turned and walked back to the silent car, opening the passenger door and stepping back to give her ample space. Mia hesitated for one last second at the edge of the crumbling shelter, clutching Pip as if he were a lifeline. Then, taking a deep breath, she darted through the rain and slid quickly into the plush leather seat, pulling her soaked backpack in after her. The heavy door clicked shut, muffling the storm's fury, enclosing them in an atmosphere of startling quiet and warmth. The sudden silence inside the car felt immense, almost deafening after the roar of the storm. It was punctuated only by the rhythmic swish of water cascading down the windows and Pip's soft, contented sighs as he immediately relaxed in Mia's lap, soaking up the ambient warmth. The air smelled faintly of new leather and something clean, sterile. Mia sat rigidly upright, her hands protectively wrapped around Pip, her gaze fixed forward through the rain-blurred windshield. She felt intensely conspicuous, acutely aware of her damp, worn clothes against the immaculate upholstery, the battered backpack at her feet a stark symbol of her circumstances. The chasm between her world and this unexpected sanctuary felt miles wide. Alistair settled into the driver's seat, made another futile attempt to get a signal on his phone, and sighed again, placing it on the center console. The silence stretched, becoming awkward. He wasn't skilled in the art of casual conversation, particularly not with strangers encountered under such unusual circumstances. But the tension emanating from the young woman beside him was palpable. He glanced over, noting again the gentle way her fingers moved over the puppy's damp fur. "What's his name again?" he asked, his voice softer this time, trying to bridge the silence. Mia started slightly, pulled from her thoughts. "Oh, Pip," she answered quietly, stroking the puppy's head. "Pip," Alistair echoed thoughtfully. "It fits him. How did you find Pip?" He kept his tone light, non-invasive. Mia seemed to hesitate, then perhaps decided the question was harmless enough. "I found him," she explained, her voice gaining a little strength as she focused on the puppy. "About a week ago. He was abandoned near the old mills, just left in a ditch. He was so small, soaking wet, just like now." Her expression softened with remembered pity and affection. "I couldn't just leave him there." Alistair nodded slowly, listening with an attention that surprised even himself. Usually, his mind would be racing ahead, strategizing, analyzing. But her simple sincerity held his focus. He noticed the smudges of graphite on her fingers, the way they moved with an artist's sensitivity. His eyes drifted down to the worn backpack at her feet. The corner of a sketchbook was visible. Are you an artist?" he inquired, nodding towards it. Mia's cheeks colored slightly. She instinctively tried to hide the sketchbook further. "Oh, it's nothing, really. Just sketching." "May I see?" Alistair asked gently. "I have something of an interest in art." Mia looked uncertain, chewing on her lower lip. Her sketchbook was her private world, filled with unfinished thoughts and raw emotions. But this man, Alistair Finch, had shown her unexpected kindness. and his interest seemed genuine. After a silent debate, she slowly extracted the damp, well-loved sketchbook from her bag. The cover was soft with use, the edges frayed. She held it for a hesitant beat, then passed it across the console. Alistair took it with care. He opened it, and his expression immediately shifted from polite interest to focused concentration. He lingered on a detailed rendering of city rooftops under a moody sky, the perspective precise, the shading evocative. He turned the page to a candid portrait of an elderly man feeding pigeons, his face a study in quiet dignity. Then came dynamic sketches of dogs in motion, capturing their energy and spirit with remarkable accuracy. He found a drawing of Pip, curled in sleep, rendered with palpable tenderness. Mia watched him anxiously, bracing herself for a polite dismissal or faint praise. Instead, Alistair looked up, his eyes meeting hers with surprising intensity. "Mia," he said, using her name deliberately, "this is far more than just sketching. This is quite remarkable. You have a powerful eye, a unique voice. There's real emotion captured here." A current of warmth spread through Mia's chest, pushing back the chill. "Thank you," she mumbled, genuinely taken aback by the conviction in his tone. "Have you studied formally?" he asked. She shook her head. "No, I've always loved to draw." "You have a gift," Alistair stated matter-of-factly. "Real talent." He closed the sketchbook gently and handed it back. "I used to draw a little myself, a lifetime ago," he admitted with a fleeting, wry smile, before the demands of Finch Corp took over completely. "Now, my appreciation is mostly as a collector. Art," he added quietly, almost to himself, "has a way of reminding you there's beauty beyond the balance sheets." His unexpected openness seemed to unlock something in Mia. She found herself talking, not pouring out her life story, but sharing her dream of becoming an illustrator, how she practiced constantly, filling page after page. She touched briefly on the challenges, aging out of care, the precariousness of finding work, but without bitterness, stating the facts with a quiet pragmatism that struck Alistair. He, in turn, shared small glimpses of his own world, the relentless pace, the constant travel, the weight of responsibility. He didn't complain, but Mia sensed an underlying loneliness beneath the polished surface of his success, a different kind of isolation perhaps. As the storm continued unabated outside, the car became an improbable bubble of connection. The vast differences in their life experiences seemed less important than the fragile bridge of understanding being built between them, centered on a shared appreciation for creativity and a quiet recognition of each other's solitude. Pip, lulled by the warmth and the low murmur of conversation, slept soundly on Mia's lap, occasionally twitching his paws in a dream chase. Alistair tried his phone again. Still nothing useful. No sign of the tow truck he'd managed to request during a brief, crackly connection earlier. It appeared their shared confinement would continue. Yet, strangely, the delay no longer felt like a burden. He felt present, engaged in a way that was increasingly rare in his scheduled life. Just then, Alistair's phone emitted a sharp, clear ringtone, making them both jump. He snatched it up, his demeanor instantly shifting back toward professional efficiency. "Finch here," he answered crisply. He listened intently, his brow slightly furrowed. "Yes, the location is correct. The sedan, yes? No. The rain hasn't stopped. Understood. Estimated time?" He listened again, then gave a curt nod. "Acceptable. Keep me informed." He ended the call, letting out a controlled breath. He turned to Mia, his expression thoughtful, assessing, yet retaining some of the warmth that had developed between them. "Well," he began, his tone regaining a measure of formality, though not coldness. "It seems the local tow services are completely swamped. My corporate transport, however, Has managed to reroute. They were en route to the airport for me, but they're diverting. Should be here within the hour, traffic permitting. Mia absorbed this new information. Corporate, transport, airport. The pieces clicked into place with sudden clarity. This man wasn't just well off. He operated on a different level entirely. Alistair seemed to anticipate her realization. "My apologies," he said, reaching into his suit jacket and extracting a slim, elegant wallet. From it, he produced a heavy, cream-colored business card. He handed it to her. "I should perhaps have introduced myself properly earlier. As I mentioned, driving myself isn't my usual routine. My standard arrangements were disrupted further up the highway." Mia took the card. The embossed letters felt substantial under her slightly damp fingertips. Alistair Finch, CO, Finch Corp. Below it, a minimalist logo she instantly recognized and an address in the city's most prestigious financial tower. Finch Corp., the technology giant, the design innovator, the global brand. Suddenly, the immaculate suit, the aura of quiet command, the stalled luxury car, it all made sense. A wave of intimidation washed over her, mingled with deep confusion. Why had this incredibly powerful man been so kind, so approachable? Alistair observed a flicker of recognition and awe in her eyes. He then gestured toward the sketchbook resting on her lap. "Mia," he said, his voice regaining its serious, focused quality. "Our conversation about your art, I meant every word. Your work," he paused, searching for the right emphasis. "It's exceptional. It possesses a clear voice, a unique perspective. It might be untrained, but the raw potential is unmistakable." He leaned forward slightly, his gaze direct, unwavering. "Finch Corp., as you may know, invests heavily in design across all our divisions. We have a highly competitive internship program, specifically designed to identify and cultivate exceptional new talent. It's an intensive, fully mentored program. Crucially, it includes placement in dedicated corporate housing near our main campus and a living stipend sufficient for independent living." Mia felt her breath catch. Her heart started pounding against her ribs. She stared at him, trying to process the implications, afraid to jump to conclusions. It felt utterly surreal, like a scene playing out in someone else's life. "Seeing your portfolio here," Alistair continued, his voice steady and certain, "and frankly, Mia, observing your character, the way you instinctively protected that small animal," he nodded towards Pip, "despite clearly facing your own significant difficulties, that resonated. Finch Corp values innovation, but true innovation requires more than just intellect. It requires empathy. It requires seeing the world through different eyes." He let the words hang in the air for a moment. "Therefore, I want to offer you a place in our next internship cohort, effective immediately. Consider it an investment," he clarified quickly, sensing her potential disbelief. "An investment in talent. An investment in potential. This is not charity, Mia. It's a professional opportunity, offered purely on the merit of the skill evident in that sketchbook and the spirit I witnessed in that bus stop." The offer filled the luxurious silence of the car. Internship, housing, stipend, Finch Corp. The words seemed to shimmer in the air, impossibly bright against the backdrop of the gray, relentless rain. Mia stared at Alistair Finch, her mind reeling, unable to fully grasp the magnitude of what he was proposing. Tears sprang to her eyes, hot and overwhelming, blurring his face. They weren't tears of sadness, but profound, destabilizing shock. A lifetime of expecting disappointment, of bracing for the other shoe to drop, clashed violently with the incredible hope surging through her. "Why?" The question escaped her lips as a choked whisper, thick with emotion. "Why me? Is this real?" It felt like a dream, beautiful and terrifyingly fragile. People like Alistair Finch didn't just materialize out of storms and hand out lifelines. Or did they? Alistair held her tear-filled gaze, his expression remarkably steady, understanding her disbelief. "It's very real, Mia," he said softly, but with absolute conviction. "Why you?" "Because talent like yours shouldn't be wasted. It deserves a chance to be seen, to grow. And because resilience, compassion, these are qualities we actively seek, qualities the world desperately needs." Sometimes, he added, a hint of personal reflection entering his voice, you encounter someone whose quiet strength reminds you of what's truly important beyond the next quarter's projections. He gestured the business card she clutched in her hand. "My direct office number is on the back, as is my executive assistant's contact information. You can verify every detail." He even retrieved his phone, quickly navigating to the Finch Corp careers page, showing her the official internship program description. The program includes a furnished studio apartment in our secure residential block. He explained calmly, laying out the practicalities, anchoring the fantastical offer in concrete details. The stipend covers all basic living expenses. You'll be paired with a senior designer as your personal mentor. You'll contribute to active projects, build a professional portfolio, gain industry experience. We also have pathways to support further education, if that's something you desire. It's rigorous, he cautioned gently, but the potential for growth is immense. He wasn't trying to sell her. He was presenting an opportunity, respectfully allowing her the space to process it. He could see the war playing out in her eyes, hope battling fear, deep-seated skepticism wrestling with the undeniable sincerity in his demeanor. Mia looked down at Pip, who had slept through the entire exchange, a small, warm weight of normalcy on her lap. He represented her recent past, her struggle, her fierce need to protect something vulnerable. Then she looked back up at Alistair Finch. The stern mask of the powerful CEO had softened, revealing the thoughtful, perhaps even lonely man beneath. The offer felt solid now, not an impulse, but a considered decision, based on her art. The one part of her that felt truly her own, the flame she kept alive against the wind. The tight knot of reserve she'd carried for years finally dissolved. The tears flowed freely now, tears of release, of overwhelming gratitude, of the staggering, terrifying beauty of a future she hadn't dared to imagine an hour ago. Yes, she managed to breathe out, her voice choked and trembling. She swallowed, took a shaky breath, and said it again, clearer this time, meeting his gaze. "Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Finch. Yes, I accept." Pip, perhaps sensing the seismic shift in the car's emotional atmosphere, chose that moment to wake up. He stretched, yawned widely, and then reached up to bestow a soft, wet lick on Mia's chin. Amidst the tears and the enormity of the moment, Mia let out a watery laugh, burying her face in his soft fur for a second. Alistair watched the interaction, and a broad, genuine smile finally broke through his customary reserve, lighting up his eyes, erasing the last vestiges of his earlier frustration. It was a smile of deep satisfaction, perhaps even a shared joy. The air inside the car felt suddenly lighter, charged with an almost tangible sense of hope blooming brightly against the gray backdrop of the storm. Just then, the powerful headlights of a large black SUV cut through the deluge, pulling up smoothly behind the stalled sedan. Alistair's transport had arrived. A door opened, not just to the waiting vehicle, but to a future Mia could never have foreseen. The storm raged on, but for Mia, the rain had already begun to wash the world clean, revealing the path ahead. Fast forward several months. The Finch Corp design studio hummed with focused creativity. Sunlight streamed through large windows, illuminating rows of workstations. At one of them sat Mia, her posture confident, her expression engaged as she manipulated images on a large digital tablet. Her movements were fluid, practiced, tucked safely under her desk, Pip snoozed peacefully in a plush dog bed. His presence, initially surprising, now accepted as part of the department's fabric. Thanks to a quiet word from the CEO, Mia's worn backpack was long gone, replaced by a sleek messenger bag. The shadows of uncertainty that had once haunted her eyes were replaced by the bright gleam of focus and possibility. She wasn't just getting by. She was excelling. The internship pushed her limits, demanding dedication and constant learning, but the environment was incredibly supportive. Her assigned mentor patiently guided her. Colleagues readily shared insights, and her innate talent, now given fertile ground, flourished. Spectacularly, she learned industry software, contributed meaningfully in brainstorming sessions, her voice growing steadier, her ideas sharper with each passing week. The small, modern apartment provided by Finch Corp felt like a haven, secure, comfortable, undeniably hers. It was the first time in her life she felt truly settled, truly safe. One sunny afternoon, Alistair Finch made one of his purposeful tours through the design floor. He paused unobtrusively near Mia's area, observing as she animatedly discussed the design concept with her mentor. Her passion was evident in her gestures, her articulate explanations. Her mentor listened intently, nodded, offered suggestion. Mia absorbed it thoughtfully, then countered with an insightful refinement. Alistair didn't intervene. He simply watched for a moment, a subtle but undeniable expression of quiet pride crossing his features, before continuing his rounds. A few days later, a company-wide email highlighted Finch Corp's new philanthropic partnership with City Animal Rescue Organization, an initiative Alistair had personally driven. The email featured a stunning, heartwarming illustration of rescued animals finding new homes. The distinctive style, full of empathy and life, was instantly recognizable. It was Mia's. The torrential storm that had forced an unlikely intersection between a desperate young artist and a preoccupied billionaire had proven to be more than just a weather event. It was a turning point, a moment of unexpected grace. For Mia, it had washed away the suffocating dust of despair, revealing the resilient spirit and extraordinary talent hidden beneath. For Alistair, it had breached the high walls of his intensely structured world, offering a potent reminder of the profound impact of human connection, the importance of seeing potential where others saw only hardship. That chance encounter, sparked by a stalled engine and a simple observation of kindness toward a shivering puppy in a broken bus stop, hadn't merely changed Mia's trajectory. It had subtly recalibrated Alistair's own compass, infusing his relentless drive with a deeper layer of human purpose. Their story became a quiet inspiration within the halls of Finch Corp, a whispered testament to the unpredictable beauty of second chances and the transformative power of looking beyond the surface. It stood as a gentle, persistent reminder that empathy is not a liability, but a vital asset, that incredible potential often lies dormant in the most unexpected corners, waiting only for someone to recognize it, to offer not just shelter from the storm, but the light needed to grow. It affirmed a simple, powerful truth, that an act of kindness, however small or unplanned, can indeed ripple outwards, creating unbelievable, heartwarming change, and reaffirming faith in quiet, enduring strength of human connection.